Hello everyone, you are in the knitting studio in style. Today, I want to tell you how I knit a top-down raglan with needles. I will also explain how to knit a yoke. In this video, we will make all the calculations together. This is the theoretical part. In the next video, we will learn to knit the raglan and work on the yoke in practice. Therefore, the link to the practical part will be below the video. So, I will consider a sample of a children's model. I am knitting a sweater for my son who is 4 years old. But this method of knitting raglan also works for adult models. So, what do? First, we determine what pattern we will use to knit our sweater. I am using stockinette stitch with a 3.5mm needle, and we knit a sample. As usual, before any knitting, we need to knit a sample and calculate the gauge. That is, how many stitches and how many rows fit into 1 centimeter. I won't go into detail on this. I have a separate lesson for that. I explain everything thoroughly there on how to calculate your gauge and figure out how many stitches you need to cast on initially. So, for those who do not know how to calculate this, please check out the lesson. We use a measuring tape to measure the circumference of the head. For me, it is 49 centimeters. We also measure the circumference of the neck. I measured the neck circumference at the point where my neckline ribbing will connect with the start of the raglan. Many take this number into account, that is, the head circumference, but this is usually more relevant when knitting for little ones, as small children's heads are typically larger than their bodies. But I will consider this number, that is, the neck circumference. I believe that knitted items stretch well. Therefore, the initial number of stitches for 40 centimeters will stretch nicely to 49 centimeters. So, I take 40 centimeters. I multiply by the number of stitches in 1 centimeter and get the stitches that I will initially cast on. I have 84 stitches. This number always has to be even. Here, I have roughly drawn my neckline. In the beginning of the knitting, I will have 84 stitches in total. After that, we determine how many stitches will go to each raglan line. We will have 4 of them, and I will take 2 stitches for each line. You can take 1, you can take 3, whatever you prefer. I will take 2 stitches. So for each of the 4 raglan lines, we take 2 stitches, and in total we will have 8 stitches for the raglan line. We take the total number of stitches, subtract 8, and get 76 stitches. This is the number of stitches we need to distribute to the back, front, and sleeves. We take 76 stitches and divide by 3 equal parts. Why into 3 parts? Because one of the 3 parts will go to the back, the second will go to the front, and the third part of 3 will go to the sleeves. For 2 sleeves, it does not divide evenly, resulting in 26 plus 25 plus 25. I take the even number of stitches, 26, and will divide it by 2 sleeves. That is, I divide 1/3 into 2 sleeves, getting 13 stitches each. So, for 1 sleeve, I will use 13 stitches, and for the second sleeve, I will use 13 stitches. The remaining, 25 and 25 will go to the back and the front, 25 stitches for the back, and 25 stitches for the front, so that the sleeves are not wide later on. We always subtract 1.5 to 2 centimeters from each sleeve. Since this is a child's model, I will subtract 1.5 centimeters. Let's calculate how many stitches that will be. I take 1.5 centimeters, multiply by the number of stitches in 1 centimeter, getting about 3 stitches. So, from each sleeve, we will subtract 3 stitches. Now that we have subtracted 3 stitches, we need to distribute them somehow. To avoid losing them, so that we still have 84 stitches in total, we will add these 3 stitches to the back and the front. Let's say we'll add these 3 stitches to the back, and these 3 stitches to the front. We have thus distributed the stitches. If you are not knitting the gusset, then you can essentially knit. Let's rewrite everything here to make it clearer. So, we will initially cast on 84 stitches, and plus 1 stitch to join the knitting into a round. After we join, that stitch will go away, we will have 84 stitches on the needles. So, we will use 2 stitches for the raglan, on the raglan line. We added 3 stitches to the back here. So, we will have 28 stitches here. And we also added 3 stitches to the front. There will also be 28 stitches here, and we subtracted 3 stitches from the sleeves. So, we will use 10 stitches for the sleeves. That's it. This scheme allows you to cast on stitches and knit the raglan. But I would still recommend knitting at least a small gusset. What is a gusset? Let's say, this is schematically our neckline. The start of our knitting is done from top to bottom. A gusset is a small extension at the back. In other words, we knit a few more rows at the top of the back than in the front. The gusset is knitted in turn rows. This means the back is always knitted. For example, here we start to knit the gusset and knit in this direction. We knit the back stitches and a few sleeve stitches. Then we turn the knitting and knit in the opposite direction. We knit the back and include it. We knit a few stitches of this sleeve. We turn around again and again, knit a few more stitches of the opposite sleeve, thus we knit the gusset. Thus, the back is knitted constantly. It ends up being longer, while here we gradually add stitches of the sleeve. But you can knit the gusset in 2 ways. The first way is from these points of the raglan lines, for example. Yes, our gusset begins. That is, the increase of the fabric goes this way and up to this point. It is possible to knit a gusset starting from the front, but not from the center, although some may knit it from the center, I don't know, but approximately we start increasing the body from these points in the front. And this way you get a gusset here. We will consider 2 options. Let's start with the simpler one. This is knitting the gusset while only taking the stitches from the sleeves. We do not touch the front. This means we decide how high we want the gusset to be. That is, how many centimeters longer we want the back to be than the front. For me, that is about 2 centimeters. And we will calculate how many rows that will be. So, I multiply 2 centimeters by the number of rows in 1 centimeter. Here is our knitting density. Yes, there are 3.2 rows in 1 centimeter. Thus, I multiply 2 centimeters of the gusset by the number of rows in 1 centimeter, and rounding it off, I get about 6 rows. This number must be even, as we will knit in back and forth rows, and we will have knit and purl rows. Therefore, in order to knit a gusset of 2 centimeters, I will need to knit 6 rows. Then we take these 6 rows, divide by 2 sleeves, and get 3 turning points. That is, if our knitting starts, let's say here, we will knit the right side and finish at 1 turning point. That is, we will take a few stitches. We do not yet know how many stitches of the sleeve we will turn at to reach this first point of this sleeve. We also do not yet know how many stitches we will turn here. We will knit to the next turning point. Thus, while turning, we will knit until we reach these ribbed lines. How many stitches do we need to knit here? How many stitches more? Yes, we will subtract a little with each row later. So, I wrote this down. We have 28 stitches for the back and front, and 10 stitches for each sleeve. And we found out that we will have 3 turning points for each sleeve. I have shown them schematically like this. 3 turning points. And we know that when we knit a top-down raglan, we always make increases on the raglan lines. In every second row, before the raglan line, and after the raglan line we add 1 stitch. Yes, in every second row. Therefore, right now we are knitting a short row. Yes, we are not touching the front. Here we will also have increases in every second row. That is, in every right side row, as we are knitting back and forth. We will see how many increases there will be in one row. Yes, we will add one stitch before and after. We are not considering the sleeves, as when we knit the short row, it will be symmetrical here. So there will be increases here and here. That is, the same number of stitches will be added to the sleeves. We do not need to worry about the sleeves. And we will also add stitches to the back here, before the raglan lines. Yes, or here, after the raglan line. Yes, stitches will be added here. But we will not add stitches to the front, as we are not touching the front yet, so it turns out. We will add stitches to the back. There will be more here, and there will be fewer here. How many stitches will we add to the back? We will knit 6 rows. In every second row, in every right side row, we will have increases. That means we will have increases in 3 rows. In 3 rows, yes. And in each row, we will add 2 stitches to the back. Here, 1 stitch, and here 1 stitch. Therefore, we take the 2 stitches that are added in 1 row and multiply by 3 rows where we will have an increase. It turns out to be 6 increases. These 6 increases, 6 stitches, yes, will be added to the back. So that after we knit the raglan, we have the same number of stitches on the back and front. These 6 stitches that we will add here, I will even write down 28 stitches plus 6. We need to subtract 3 stitches from 28 stitches of the back. 28 stitches. We subtract 3 stitches and add 3 stitches to the front, and then we will have after. Tying the growth a matching number of stitches on the back and on the front, we have figured this out. Now let's figure out how many stitches we need to add here. How many more stitches to knit? While knitting to each turning point, let's say we start tying the growth here. Knit the back stitches and knit the sleeve stitches until the first turning point. How many stitches should we add here? Let's turn around and here. How many stitches do we need to add here? We turn around again and knit a few extra stitches here. We don't know how many yet. We will figure it out now. For now we have 10 stitches for the sleeves. We take these 10 stitches, divide by 3 turning points, getting, it does not divide evenly for me. 4 stitches, 3 stitches, and 3 stitches. Therefore, I write 4 stitches. I immediately add them here. When knitting the first stitches after the back, here are 4 stitches, and then I write 3 stitches. The next turning point, 3 stitches, also here. Now we can transfer everything here to make it clearer. So, 28 stitches, we subtract 3 for the back, and it gives us 25 stitches here. We need to initially allocate for the back, for the front 28 plus 3. For the front we need to allocate 31 stitches. So, the sleeves have 10 stitches each. At the turning points, I also allocate 4 stitches. 3 stitches, that's all. We can already start picking up stitches and knitting our growth according to this pattern. It will start from these points. It will be a small growth of 2 centimeters or 6 rows. This is the simplest way to calculate the growth knitting. I practically use it in all products. But, if we want our neckline to be deeper, the front stitches are also divided into several parts. Then the growth is already knit. It captures not only the sleeve stitches but also the front stitches. This is our second option. It is more complex. Let's figure it out. In principle, there is nothing complicated here. Just a bit more calculation. After we have calculated, here is how many turning points we will have, and since we will be adding loops with each new row we knit, we will divide our pepper into 6 parts. Usually, the pepper is divided into 6 parts. Sometimes it is divided into 8 parts. I will divide it into 6 parts. So, I have 31 loops taken for the pepper. I take 31 loops and divide by it does not divide evenly. It results in 5 parts of 5 loops, and the 6th part of 6 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 groups, 6 parts. This is how we divided our pepper. Here, I have rewritten and redrawn. I left everything the same. Only let's deal with the front. The front has 31 loops. I divided it into 6 equal parts. Then we take the 2 central parts. We combine them. Here are the 2 middle parts. We won't touch them when we knit the sprout. Now let's figure out how many loops we will assign to which part. Since I have 5 groups of 5 loops, and 1 group with 6 loops, I take 5 and 6 loops, I will assign to the center. And to this part, I will assign 5 loops. To this 5, and here 5, and accordingly. It results in the middle 2 parts we will not knit, we will dim. Here, there will be 11 loops. And we will not touch the central ones, but we will knit. After the raglan line, we will add 5 loops here, we will turn. Here's the turning point. Here we will add 5 stitches, this is the turning point. We will turn around. And again add 5 stitches, we have reached the center, we'll turn around, and here we will also add 5 stitches. So we have knitted the gusset, capturing the front stitches. We will have 2 turning points here. So, accordingly, we will knit 4 extra rows. Now, look, for example, we have knitted to the yoke. Yes, we knit the first row, capturing 5 stitches and turn around. We knit the second row, capturing 5 stitches, and turn around for the third row. We turn around for the fourth, 4 rows. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 turning points, and accordingly plus 4 extra rows we need to knit. So if we want to knit the gusset starting from the front, we need to calculate that we will knit 4 rows more than if we only captured the sleeve stitches for the gusset. So here we will not have 6 rows for the gusset, but 6 plus 4, that is 10 rows, which is not 2 centimeters, but a bit more. After completing the gusset, we continue knitting the yoke from top to bottom, and we need to know how long the raglan lines should be. We have 4 of them. The raglan line ends in the armpit. This arrow shows our raglan line. To find its length, the height of the armhole is usually calculated. The height of the armhole is the distance from the armpit straight up to the slope of the shoulder. This is the vertical arrow, and this is the height of the armhole. Therefore, to know the length of our raglan line, we calculate the height of the armhole, this distance. I found 2 of the most common formulas for calculating the height of the armhole for adults and children, up to 80 centimeters tall. So the first option is half the bust circumference. We divide by 3 and then add 5 centimeters. According to the second option, people knit half the bust circumference, divide by 4, and add 7 centimeters. Also, the formula for children up to 80 centimeters. Half the bust circumference divided by 4, and add 5 or 6 centimeters. 5, if it's a very small child. 6 if a bit bigger. However, I prefer fitting. That is, I am used to knitting for myself. I knit for my children. Therefore, I can easily try it on and see. I can determine by sight how long my raglan line should be. I base it on the idea that the length of the raglan line should be around 3 to 5 centimeters below the armpits. The length of the raglan line is calculated beforehand, meaning without taking into account the shoulder seam. Therefore, by calculating the height of the armhole, we will essentially get the length of the raglan line. However, it may be slightly longer. I hope these calculations help you in some way. You will be able to calculate everything correctly and knit. Thank you for watching. Check out the practice